More iFi, please. If you consider yourself an audiophile, a music enthusiast, or you just like music and the tech to play it, then you're in the right place. Be sure to click that subscribe button so you don't miss review videos, how-to videos, buying guides, and more right here at Moon Audio. So iFi is a new brand we just picked up here at Moon Audio. You might have seen Drew's audiophile tech tips video the other week, briefly going over some of the new products. iFi has been around since 2012 and are headquartered in Southport, UK. Their mission is to do one thing: make your music sound better. I've been slaving away going through all the iFi DACs on my desk. The first one I've had the chance to deep dive into is the iFi xDSD Gryphon DAC amp. Is anyone going to tell them they misspelled it? No. Of course they did it on purpose, but everyone is saying it's the Mojo killer. Is it? The Gryphon is a nice looking piece of tech. Right out of the gate, I want to go and say it just looks like a cyberpunk flask. And I always wanted one of those. It's about the size of an external hard drive, and it's surprisingly lighter than I thought it would be. iFi has done a great job with the materials and construction to cut down on the overall weight of the DAC. Let's go over some of the I/O on the front and back of the device. Okay, so first we have the 3.5 unbalanced jack here, and the 4.4 millimeter. Next we have LED indicators for track info and the input setting. Then we have the volume knob, which actually changes color for the volume and other settings. You press it in for mute, unmute, and you can also use it for menu navigation. Next we have LED indicators for the X bass and X bass sound enhancements. The next button is the settings menu, which fluctuates between the X bass, and the combination setting, and also hold it down to get into your menu settings. And then the other last button is for the input setting. On the back here, we have our selection switch for X bass, presence, and the combination thereof. We have two USB-C jacks, one for charging, the other for audio data transmission. Coax, 4.4 and 3.5 millimeter input jacks as well. So here's the OLED screen on the top. Let's get into the menu real quick here. You can select dual port charge if you want to use both USB-C ports for charging. You can select Bluetooth voice prompt. You can adjust the screen brightness. And also here you can get into the digital filters. Last but not least, we have the switch on the underside of the device for the IE match or IEM match to select it between off to the 3.5 unbalanced or the 4.4 balanced port. One of my favorite aspects of the DAC amp is the OLED screen on the top of the device. It's a sharp looking display, and the mirrored finish hides the fact that it's even a screen when the DAC isn't powered on. There's an impressive amount of information displayed on the screen, and more importantly, iFi has implemented silent line technology, meaning that the display does not add extra noise into the system. If you don't trust them, you can always just turn off the display in the settings too. The Gryphon handles pretty much every format ever created using a hybrid Burr-Brown DAC chipset, which is the same that's used in iFi's $3,000 flagship, the Pro iDSD Signature. It handles up to DSD 512 and PCM 32-bit 768, including MQA. I'm a big fan of the iFi Burr-Brown Signature. It's balanced, realistic, with some nice bottom end engagement that I miss in other portable DACs. Low frequencies are present and tight and can always be boosted with the X bass setting if you want more. And it will give you more. I found the X bass setting more controlled than the hip DAC that we'll discuss in a bit for the comparison section. Mids were accurate for the most part, sitting at a comfortable level, not too much, not too little, but there's some sparkle on the top end that really lends to the clarity of the Gryphon, giving the overall signature a very pleasant sound. It's natural sounding with great imaging. The noise floor is impressively quiet as well. The X-Bass enhancement really adds some thumpy bottom end for listeners who like to feel what they are listening to. I was surprised with how much they fill out different headphones at various volume levels. It's never bloated, but the low frequencies will sound different depending on your cans. The X-Bass setting simulates a holographic sound field, giving the illusion of opening the soundstage, kind of like crossfeed. They call it an analog headphone spatializer. It does a well enough job of expanding the sound, so much that I found myself preferring the setting if I was just zoning out listening to music while writing. If you're a purist, you might not like it for most things, but it is effective for just about any genre out there. Lastly, the Gryphon has 3 digital filters: Bit Perfect, which leaves the signal with no filtering; GTO upsamples to 384, 352 with minimum filtering, no pre-ringing, and minimum post-ringing; STD is your standard modest filtering with modest pre- and post-ringing. There's subtle changes, and I found myself either using the Bit Perfect or standard filters most of the time. Bluetooth is probably one of the best features of the Gryphon. With the latest codecs, aptX Adaptive, aptX HD, aptX Low Latency, LDAC, LHDC, and of course AAC and SBC, you can be sure your music is going to sound the best it can wirelessly. The Gryphon has Bluetooth 5.1, and although we like running cables here, I will say the wireless audio sounds great when streaming high-res on streaming services like Tidal or Qobuz. You'll see all your streaming info pop up on the screen too, which is just a nice experience overall. Power is the next big thing about not just the Gryphon, but most of iFi's lineups of portable amps. iFi implements what they call their pure wave amplification circuitry to deliver 1000 milliwatts of power to 32 ohms. In balanced mode, the device can output 6.7 VRMS and handle most headphones you can throw at it. The IE match switch, or the IEM match switch on the bottom of the Gryphon makes sure that you have all the power you need for your high sensitivity IEMs. The power does make a difference with the sound. More power means your drivers are working optimally, especially in planar magnetic drivers. They just sound better the more power you throw at them. There are tons of features included in the Gryphon and too many design elements to get into here, including MQA, iFi's Optima Loop, which is their negative feedback tech, Silent Line for the OLED screen, their S-Balance performance technology, CyberSync volume control, and more. You can read more about the technology and how it's implemented in the written review, which we'll link to in the description. There are a few devices that iFi develops in the vein of really great portable DACs. I'm speaking primarily of the Hip DAC 2 and the Go Blue Bluetooth module. The Hip DAC is going to be the more apples to apples comparison here and is designed in much the same way, just a little smaller. The I/O is streamlined, and it's basically just a stripped down version of the Gryphon at an entry-level price point. What's not entry-level is the sound. It uses a Burr Brown chip like the Gryphon, and sonically they sound similar enough. Clarity on the high frequencies, a good amount of mids and low end, with some great dynamics for an entry-level DAC. The Hip DAC has the iFi X-Bass setting, but is actually missing the X-Bass setting. It only has the bass boost. It's pretty impressive how boomy this little thing gets, but it's not nearly as expressive or detailed as the Gryphon. But under $200, it's a great first buy for those wanting to try out something a bit more than their budget dongles, because for 1/3 of the price of the Gryphon, you easily get half the sound, if not more. The Go Blue is a Bluetooth adapter that is equipped with the same sonic improvements as the Gryphon, with iFi's X-Bass and X-Bass technology. But it's also equipped with a microphone so that you can make calls through your headphones or IEMs if connected to your phone. It's one of the few devices on the market for high-res audio transmission that also comes with a microphone. Typically, we don't like adding microphones to headphones or IEM cables as they can add noise into the signal. But the Go Blue solution is perfect for this very issue. With the latest high-res Bluetooth codecs, LDAC, aptX HD, aptX Adaptive, etc., both balanced and unbalanced headphone connectors, and separate stages for Bluetooth, DAC, and amp, the Go Blue retains a lot of the features that makes the Gryphon great at a much lower cost. It utilizes a CS43131 chip that still has some great measurements, but I did notice that despite the great power output for a device of this size, the X-Bass and X-Bass features were less pronounced than on the Hip DAC 2 and the Gryphon. Sound-wise, it doesn't have the depth or soundstage that the Hip DAC or Gryphon sport, but it is highly detailed, lending itself to a more analytical signature. All in all, it's an impressive package for the size, but don't expect to get Gryphon-level sound from it. Bluetooth 5.1, 10-hour battery life, and the microphone make it a great convenience for portable traveling, and the only factor better than all that is the price. The thing that is impressive about the lineup of iFi portable amps is the power output. They can put out a ton of power despite their size. Now, they're not going to power a Susvara, but they'll pretty much do everything else. The Go Blue and Hip DAC 2 make for some great entry-level alternatives to the Gryphon, but if you want the whole kit and caboodle, best iFi sound, most features, best I/O, then the Gryphon is a no-brainer. I also have the Diablo on my review list next, so I'll be sure to add even more comparison notes when I review this even more powerful amp. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Hey Ricky, catch.
The Gryphon has everything that audiophiles wanted in the Mojo 2. Boom. The obvious comparison I left for last, as the Mojo 2 is without doubt what the Gryphon is gunning for. I don't think it sounds better than the Mojo 2, but I might like the sound better than the Mojo 2, if that makes sense. The Mojo 2 will give you more control over your EQ, but the Gryphon just has easier tone controls that sound great in its own right, and some major additional features that you won't find on the Mojo 2, that many people were wanting. To me, it's the better value, it's the more versatile DAC and amp, it has tons of power, Bluetooth, a really great sounding DAC, and an overall premium experience that I think many will appreciate. I'm glad we picked up iFi here, and I'm really impressed with the Gryphon overall. We'll include a link to the full review where you can find more info on sound impressions, loads of tech that iFi packs into this thing, comparisons with other DAC amps, and much more. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss our latest reviews and videos. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and as always, thanks for watching.